Hello everyone, Susie here with part 3 of the Java Basics tutorial series. In this video, we will revisit variables, go over user input using the scanner class, create objects, and go over packages and libraries. So open up your IDE, grab your notebook and pen, and a drink of your choice, and let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is revisit a bit about variables and their assignments. In the last video, we talked about what the variable types are, what a variable is, and what it is used for. So the variable type can be a string, which are characters put together, an integer, which is a whole number, or a float or a double, which is a decimal, to name a few. Now, for most of the examples in the last video, we talked mostly about numerical variable types. The best way to think about the formula of a variable is we have the name of the variable, and on either side of it is an empty box. The box to the left will hold the variable type, while the box on the right will hold the value that is comparable to the type. So if the type is an integer, we know that the value will be a whole number. If the type is a string, then we know that the value will be characters. So let's take the variable keys. Keys of a piano. We know that a piano has 88 keys, and we know that the keys can be black and white. So we can give the variable keys a numerical value or a string value. If we give a numerical value, then we have to give the variable a type of integer or float, or double. If we give the character value such as black or white, then we have to give the variable a type of string, and this is string with a capital S. So here you see we have given the variable keys a type of integer and a value of 88. Or we can give the variable keys a type of string and a value of black. Remember that the variable will take the place of the value. We write these statements at the beginning of our code so that it is easier in the end to change the value if need be. Also, by creating this setup, we make it easier to change the value at any time. We won't have to look through tons of code to find each instance of the value. Java will simply replace the variable with whatever value we assign it. Okay, so here it is again. We have the type followed by the variable, and the value is on the other side of the equation. The equals tells Java that the variable name and the value are one and the same. When we write out code, we will write count instead of 10. If we decide to change our minds later and make the value 20, Java will replace all the instances of count with 20. Same thing applies to the string. Here we have a string which is a variable type, followed by the variable name, and then the value. Java reads the name and replaces it with John, or Andrew, or Jenny. Whatever the value, the variable name will take on that value. So here is how we write it out. We state the type, variable, and value. This is declaring a variable. Next, we give Java the instructions to print the line, a piano has keys, keys. Java will see that keys is a variable and replace it with the value of 88, which we declared above. So the output will be a piano has 88 keys. Again, we start with the type string with a capital S, the variable, and the value. We then give Java the instructions to print the line hello name. Java will read the name as a variable and replace it with John. So the output will be hello, John. Now notice I added a period. Remember, Java doesn't know to add a space on its own, so we must add it in ourselves. After hello, we put a space, and because there's no space between John and the period, we didn't add a space before the period. Just because you add a space between the quotes and the plus sign and the variable, Java will not read that as a character space. Same with a piano has 88 keys. We added a space after has and before keys. The space will be in between quotes to be counted. Now let's talk about the scanner class. What is the scanner class? It is the class that allows users to put input into a program and receive some answer in return. These inputs are usually a prompt to the user, such as, please enter your name, or what is your age? It's a convenient method for reading inputted values in Java's API, Application Program Interface. To use the scanner class, we need to create it as an object. To do this, we simply type in scanner with a capital S, and then give it a variable, which we'll call scan. Set it equal to new scanner with a capital S, and then in parentheses, system.in, and then the semicolon. Proper programming tells you to import the scanner class from the package util. To do this, at the top of the program, before the public class, we type in import java.util.scanner. If you are inputting multiple classes from the util package, then you could type import java.util. And then the asterisk. The asterisk refers to as a wildcard. It tells Java to import all the classes and interfaces from the util package. This can be done with most packages, which we will discuss later. Now, the variable scan represents the scanner object. New is the operator that creates the scanner object. The system.in in the parameter field between the two parentheses represents the standard input stream, which is your keyboard. So it's saying enter in data using your keyboard. When using the scanner class, we need to also tell Java, after saving the inputted information, go to the next line of the instructions. To do this, we create the next method. This can be next integer, next float, next double, next line, or even just next. Let's take a look at the scanner class in action. Here is a program called Echo. As you can see, it asks the user to input a line of text and returns whatever the user inputted. We use the scanner class to get the user's response to the prompt. We first declare a variable message as string. We then create a new scanner object. We then prompt Java to display a prompt question for the user using println, because we want Java to go and read the next line of code. Then we call the next method, where the user's input will now be stored as a value for the variable message, and Java will read the next line of instructions, which will display what the user typed in. So the output will read, enter a line of text. The user will type in an answer. This is a line of text that I entered in. And Java will now print out what was entered. Basically the repeated message. This is a line of text that I entered in. Now this code was an echo. We asked the user to enter something, and we had Java print it out for them. Remember, the scan stores the information in the variable we set for it, which can be called later and used in other ways. Here is a program called guess. Can you guess what this program will do based on what you learned about the scanner class? If you stated that it will print out the miles per gallon, you are correct. The user was prompted to input the number of miles driven, which Java stored the value of 560 for the variable miles. Then it prompted the user to enter a value for gallons used, which it stored the value of 18 for the variable gallons. Next, it took those values and performed a calculation of miles divided by gallons, so 560 divided by 18, and stored the value for the variable MPG. Then we printed out the value of MPG. When Java read MPG, it replaced MPG with the new calculated value of 3.11, and so on. When creating objects, we write out declarations. Now, another way to create declarations is to create the type and variable and then assign a value to those variables later. When we don't assign a value to a variable, we say that the variables are uninitialized. They contain no data. After a new operator creates the object, a constructor is invoked to help set it up initially. This constructor method has the same name as the class. Here are two examples of how this is done. First, we create the type and variables. We say we want a number that will be an integer and a name that will be a string. Now we will later declare the values for these variables. By doing this, we can change the values of the variables throughout the program. So maybe in the first class, we want the values of the variables to be 42 and John Goodman. Java knows that the num will be an integer and that the name will be a string because we stated it earlier. Maybe in the second class, we change the number to 23 and the name to Sarah Jessica Parker. Java will still know that it is the value of the variable num to be an integer and the value of the variable name to be a string. We do not need to restate it. Here is an example of using the method called length. This program sets a value of 42 for the variable number, which we declared will be an integer. The variable name is declared as a string and given the value of John Goodman. Now, name is tied to the length method, so that when the length method is called, it will evaluate the variable name and not num. The length method is set to the variable count, which is also declared as an integer. Thus, when the variable count is called, the method length will count all of the characters, including the space character, in the string. The program returns with an output of 12 because length is reading the variable value for name and counting the characters within that string. There are 11 letters plus a space character between John and Goodman, and therefore the output is 12. Here is a program creating. Can you guess what this program will do based on what you just learned? If you said it gives the count of characters and the name, you are correct. This program will call the length method, which will read the variable name and count all the characters including the space and return the number of characters and the name in the string. Thus the output is there are 15 characters in the name Abraham Lincoln. Let's try another example. What happens if we change the value for the name variable? If you said that the count will update and the name will change, you are correct. The program is the same and the values have only changed. So there are 25 characters in the name Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You're doing great, and we're almost done. So a tidbit of information when creating new objects. Here we have an object string, and the variable is title. We create a new string called the Princess Bride. Now, you can write it this way, or you can write it the way we have been writing it in the past. They are the same thing. Both string title equals new string, the Princess Bride, and string title equals the Princess Bride are exactly the same and will yield the same results. However, keep in mind when creating objects of the same kind, creating them with new will help distinguish them from each other. We will talk more about this in the next video. Java has a library which is a set of classes that supports the development of a program, as we've seen with the scanner class. A group of classes is called a package. Like a filing cabinet, the file cabinet is the library. The file folders are packages, and the classes are the individual files. To use the packages, you need to import them. Here are some common packages you'll use. java.awt.beans.io, .language, or lang, .math, .net, .rmi, or remote method invocation, .security, .sql, or structured query language, .text, .util, which is short for utilities, JavaFX, scene.shape, and JavaFX.scene.control. In future videos, we will use the util, math, text, and language packages mostly. Let's talk about a few classes from these packages you can use. Scanner, random, math, and output formatters are common ones. Each class is in a different package, and therefore you need to make sure you import the correct package that contains that class. You can visit this website, https://java.se/docs/API/docs/overview-summary.html. This website is great to review and look over the different packages and classes they contain. Scanner and random are from the util package, while math is from the language package. Number and decimal format are in the text package. Okay, let's put your skills to the test. Here is a program called Random Number. What do you think this program will do? If you said generate a random integer and float, you are correct. Let's walk through the program. First, we imported the package util, which contains the class random. Random will generate random numbers. So we created a new random object called generator. We declared the variables num1 and num2. We then instructed Java to generate a random number and store it as the value for the variable num1. Then we asked Java to print out that value. We applied the same principle to num2. Since num1 is declared as an integer, the generator randomly selected an integer, which is any whole number, between negative 2,147,483,648 and 2,147,483,647. Since num2 is declared as a float, the generator randomly selected a float between 0 and 1. Although floats are numbers from negative 3.4 e to the 38th with 7 significant digits to 3.4 e to the 38th with 7 significant digits, when we use random with float, the random number is set between 0 and 1. Here is the math program. Now this program calls the class math. However, it can work with or without importing the package. This is because math is located in a language package, which is already being imported behind the scenes. For good programming skills and habits, you should import the package anyway. Here we declare a variable a as an integer and set it to the value of 12. We then declare the variable square as a double and set the value to it math.pow in parentheses a, 2, which are parameters. This means calculate the value of whatever the value is to the second power. Math.pow has 2 parameters. The first is the variable you wish to use, and the second is the power you wish to perform. The bottom example is the root. Since we already declared an integer, we do not need to redeclare it. We only need to give it a new value. Then we declare a new variable root and set its value to the calculation of the square root of a. Math.squareRoot only has one parameter here. Here is a program called purchase. In this program, we first need to import the number format and the scanner classes. We declare several variables. Final means that the value of the variable cannot be changed in the program. Tax rate in all caps means that the value will stay the same throughout the program. We create a new scanner object and 2 number format objects. Number format has sub-methods. These methods are get methods or accessor methods, which I'll discuss in the next video, but they basically call a specific instance. One is for currency, and the other is percentages. This, in the end, will format a specific variable to that instance, either in the currency or percentage. So here we use the scanner object to get a user's input and save the data in the correct variables. Then we perform some behind-the-scenes math and finally call the program to print the subtotal in currency, the tax in currency, the tax rate in a percent, and the total cost in currency. This formatting helps to avoid having to input the dollar or percent signs into the code and gives proper formatting. At the value of 10.10 and the type was double, without the format, the value would print 10.1 because double doesn't read the added 0 at the end. The format helps ensure that the numbers are properly formatted. Finally, very similar to the previous example, here we are using the decimal format to format the values for area and circumference. This is helpful when you are dealing with more precise numerical values. I encourage you to keep practicing. Try making some codes of your own and see what results you get from the skills you've learned. That's it for this video. In the next video, we'll cover writing multiple classes, learning about methods, accessors, getters, mutators or setters, parameters, and constructors. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Please hit the bell icon so you'll never miss another video. Have a great day.